Hi, this is David White coming to you again from Austin, Texas with the 18th installment of the series that we call Perfect Life. Today our scripture is Matthew 5th chapter, 10th through the 12th verse. Now, as you'll note, this beatitude is done in what the Hebrews call parallelism. They say something, then come back right under it and say it again. Matthew 5:10 through 12. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when they revile and persecute you and say all kinds of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Now, of course, you have the parallelism there. We'll note one more time that the Beatitudes are written in the present tense. Blessed are. This is not pie in the sky stuff that you have to wait to some distant heaven, whatever we conceive that to be, but it's now. Blessed are those. Now, this one, blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness. Well, what is righteousness? Well, it seems to me that righteousness, or a person who lives a righteous life, would be a person who has succeeded in surrendering to the fact that the attributes talked about in the prior 7 Beatitudes is the happiest and most successful way to live. They are poor in spirit. That's the absence of pride. Those that mourn, surrendering to the good. Meekness, that's the person who is teachable. Hunger and thirsting after righteousness, that's the person who wants it all. Merciful, seems to me that this involves the person who lives following the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And then pure in heart, we've said that our thought on the pure in heart is that this is a person who lives without guile and without the manipulating impulse. And then there's the person who achieves peace within his own heart. That's the inner comfort. The person who lives with these virtues, it seems to me, would be leading a righteous life. And then we get to the kingdom of heaven. It says, blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And as we've said before, the kingdom of heaven, the clue to what it is found in the Lord's Prayer, which starts, well, it doesn't start, but uses a parallelism. Thy kingdom come. Then right under that it says, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. So we might say, or we could say, that heaven is a place where God's will is done as freely as it is in His presence in another life. Now, I want to look at verses 11 and 12 first. Blessed are you when they revile and persecute you and say all kinds of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven, for so persecuted the prophets who were before you. If we're talking about externals, I can't speak to this with any understanding, simply because I have racked my brain the last couple of 3 weeks and heart and tried to find a time when I was persecuted or even made fun of by outsiders, and I just haven't been able to come up with any. Now, there have been a few times when, in my spiritual pride, I got more spiritual than Jesus and got laughed at, but this had nothing to do with righteousness' sake. This had to do with my holier than thou attitude and people seeing through it. So don't think that's what Jesus was talking about here. So for me, I've come to the conclusion that if you're talking about being persecuted for righteousness' sake, then it has to come from the inside. And I can certainly talk about that, because I am constantly being attacked by the devil within. Now, I'm not going to get into any argument with anybody about what they believe or what I believe about the devil within. It works for me, and so. But I am constantly attacked by that something within, seeking to instill pride or make me back away from being teachable, become dogmatic and merciful. My gracious, it's so much fun to judge other people and have the idea that, well, they got what they deserved. I can tell you it's sure a lot more fun to do it to others than it is to have them do it to me. So these impulses are always there, and overcoming is, in one sense, the great joy of the Christian life, because it constantly tells me that in and of myself, I'm a loser with regard to having a life that I'm comfortable with, that I feel cared for by the God of my understanding. Samuel Clemens, Samuel Clemens, whom we all know was the person who used the pen name not Huckleberry Finn, not Tom Sawyer, Mark Twain, was once quoted loosely as saying, "It's not the parts of the Bible that I don't understand that bothers me. It's the parts that I do understand that bother me." And certainly that's applicable in my case. So this 8th beatitude, while it is different in tone from the first 7, it tells us that to the extent that we can live the first 7, we are blessed in that. We'll be living a life on earth that is surrendered just as completely to God as the life will be in the hereafter. I would like to meet the person. In fact, I think I may have met a couple of people who have come close to reaching that goal. I certainly haven't. Because the truth of the matter is, the closer I get to it, the more that damn old pride jumps in there and tells me what a good boy I am. And then, of course, the whole thing is just lost. This concludes our discussion of the Beatitudes. And I might say that the Beatitudes, in essence, I believe, contain the whole of the Christ message, or 99% of it anyway. Now, the remainder of the Sermon on the Mount is going to be saying the same things, just in different ways. And so we'll head into that in the 19th edition of The Perfect Life. Thank you for being here. Once again, our Gmail address is white1091@gmail.com. Thank you for coming this time, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Good day.